Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to today's live. Thank you for joining us. Let us know where you are tuning in from. If you are joining, just go ahead and go to the chat box and type in your name and where you are joining us from. I would like to know those who are joining us live today online. Okay, please go ahead and put your name and your location in the chat box. This is also a good time for you to, reach out to friends and family, talk to them concerning today's conversation, let them know that we are already live so that they can join us. I'm going to be sharing something very important, something very wonderful with us today. And I believe this is a very good opportunity to invite someone who needs to hear what we are talking about today. Okay, so hit the share button and go ahead and invite someone now. Okay, I'm going to be having a very important conversation today on the power of relationship. Okay, we are still in the series End Your Year Strong, how to finish this year right and live the next year with total freedom. And today I'm going to be zeroing in on the power of relationship. A few weeks ago, we talked about spiritual reset. We also talked about finding clarity of purpose. And then we also talked about having a growth plan. And then today I'm going to be talking about the power of relationship. Okay. Thank you for joining. I can see you guys online. Just let us know where you are joining from and your name. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing that. If you have been joining and you've not had any opportunity to subscribe, this is a good opportunity for you to also hit the subscribe button and then also share this link with your friends and your family. Okay, great to have you guys here once again today. I want to share a very key important aspect of our conversation today, and that is the power of relationship. Okay. I was reading while working on this teaching. I was reading some, online statistics on the power of relationship, on how quality relationship impacts performance, on how it impacts people in the workplace. In fact, they said that when people have healthy relationship in the workplace, it reduces to 75% the amount of time people are going to ask for a sick leave. Okay, so people show up more in the office when there is relationship. People have a better work experience when the relationship. In fact, more people are likely going to quit their job if they don't have a healthy relationship in the workplace. Okay, it also impacts creativity. A survey by Harvard Business, show that an organization's ROI is heavily impacted. Even the level of creativity within an organization is fueled by the quality of relationship that people have within that organization. Okay, so relationship is very, very vital. In the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 18, the Bible said that the Lord said, it is not good for the man to be alone. Okay, whenever I look at this scripture, I want to also draw our attention to the fact that he was not just talking to the male man. Okay, he was also addressing the female man, if we are to say it in that context. It is both a man and a woman. God is saying that it is not good for them to be alone. So there is need, for man to have a helpmate suitable, to make life happen, to make vision happen, to create goals and let them succeed. Okay, so after spiritual reset, okay, after clarity of purpose, after you have built your personal growth plan, the most important thing, the one key important thing, I find it very difficult to say which one is the most. Okay, all of them are powerful. Okay, you can't avoid spiritual reset. You can't avoid having clarity of purpose. In fact, if you don't do spiritual reset, you don't have clarity of purpose, you don't have a personal growth plan, it is going to impact the kind of relationship you attract, the quality of relationship you have in your life. Okay, so what we are focusing in this teaching is the importance of building the right relationship, strengthening the relationship that already exists, and if possible, finding healing. Okay, so the goal is that we want you to enter next year lighter, more connected, and more emotionally whole. Okay, so we don't want you carrying emotional baggages and emotional wounds. We also want you to feel connected. We don't want you to be disconnected. Oftentimes, in the course of certain boundaries, which I'm going to talk about, most people end up creating walls. Okay, certain boundaries does not necessarily mean you need to create walls. Boundaries means that there is a limit to a relationship, your interaction, your connectedness, your involvement. Doesn't mean cutting everybody off, staying in isolation, and then being lonely, which ultimately improves your productivity in life. Okay, so one thing that is very key is that I want you to go into next year more connected than you were this year. I want you to go into next year more emotionally whole than you were this year. And then, of course, we want you to heal and be able to bring in the right people, into your life. Okay, so one thing I want to say, before I move into the rest of the conversation, is a quote from Tony Robbins. He said, the quality of your life is the quality of your relationship. Okay, so you can always evaluate your life in line with your relationship. If you have toxic people around you, if you have toxic relationship around you, it's going to impact the quality of your life. It's going to impact your own productivity. And that is why this conversation is very important. Just imagine you have spent all these past weeks that we've been having this conversation, experiencing a spiritual reset, clarifying your purpose, developing your own personal growth plan, and then you now surround yourself with the wrong people. What is going to happen is that it's going to bring everything that you spent your time doing down, because you don't have the right people with the right mindset supporting your vision to make it succeed. And that is why it's very important. In fact, I see most people crumble everything they have built simply because they did not invest in the right relationship, simply because they did not identify the right relationship to invest in. So even though you have vision, even though you have clarity, even though you are empowering yourself towards what you want to achieve, not having the right people can also affect what you are building. Okay, so no matter how productive, successful, or purposeful your life becomes, okay, based on your plan, based on the things that you have designed, your relationship determines the quality of your life. Okay, and that is why it is very, very important. Any successful person in life, okay, when I like reading biographies, when I see people succeed, I like to read their stories. One thing always stand out: successful people can always trace it back to a relationship. They can trace it back to a friend. They can trace it back to a parent. They can trace it back to people who in their life who supported them, encouraged them, pushed them into what they were doing. I remember when I was listening to the story of Seal. He's a famous musician. He said when he was, staying with a friend in London, at that point he couldn't even afford his own apartment. He was just, being helped by a friend, and one day the friend was just telling him that why don't he, move into, his music career. And he doesn't really believe in himself. He doesn't really think that, he has anything to offer. And the friend looked him in the eyes and said that he is one of the most powerful singers to him that he has ever listened to. He encouraged him and pushed him. He went into the game. He started singing. Before he knew it, in a space of 3 to 5 years, he had an album, that was hitting the chart, that was celebrated all over the world. And it was because even in his most down moment, he knew what he wanted to do. He wasn't so sure. But the power of the relationship, someone who stood by him, someone who encouraged him, someone who pushed him, is what made him, to step in and make his vision a reality. Who is pushing you towards your vision? Who is pushing you towards your goal? Do you have people who are always telling you it's not going to work out? Or do you have people who are supporting you, telling you, yes, I believe in you, go for it, be all that you can be? Having the right people in your life helps your dream to succeed. In fact, let me say this. Many people are struggling in life not because they don't have the right vision, not because they don't have the right goal, not because they are not reading enough or empowering themselves. Many people are struggling because they don't have the right relationship. I think I've shared this, story in the past that I run different organizations and I have different teams. Currently we are at a place in the organization where it looks like everything is in place. Everything is, moving the way it should work. And when I compare what I have today with what I used to have, it is the quality of the relationship, the quality of the individuals, how connected the team is, the zeal and the energy they bring to the vision. So you see, Why we say everything rises and falls on leadership. Another thing I can also add to it is that every vision rises and falls based on the power of relationship that is connected to it. And that is why it is very important for you to make sure that you identify the right people, build a very solid ground with them, and then you will watch your vision, you will watch your life move in the right direction. Okay? So many people are struggling simply because they are alone. Some of you are struggling because you are alone. The vision in your head, the plans are in your head. You don't have someone who understands you. You don't have someone who understands the vision that you are trying to build. Someone who is there to help you, go through the plan in your head. Look at what you are doing. Offer advice. Most times, not necessarily to tell you what to do, but sometimes when you have someone that you are sharing with and they are asking you critical questions, it can determine how far you go with that vision and what you are able to accomplish with it. Okay? So, one of the questions I want you to ponder in your mind as you listen to this conversation is: are you alone? Are you alone? It doesn't necessarily mean getting married. Somebody else might be thinking, okay, maybe that's why I need to get married. There are a lot of people who are married and they are still alone. Okay? So it's first about understanding, the values you carry and the people you need to connect with in order to make that vision a reality. So are you alone? If you're alone, what kind of relationship do you need to connect to? What kind of relationship do you need to build in order to make your life and your vision and your dream succeed? One thing that you also observe, even in the Bible, was Jesus. When he was on earth, he received a vision from God. He understood his assignment. But he went about in the early days of his assignment and he started recruiting people who will align with his vision and help him accomplish the things that he has set out to do. And that is the power of team. Okay, team makes the dream work. So irrespective of who you are or where you find yourself, you can never underestimate the power of team. In the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 12, it says, though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So it means that the more connected you are, the more stronger you are. The more lonely you are, the less effective you become. You lose accountability, you lose motivation, you lose empowerment that forces you, to get things better. I was recently listening to a story. My wife sent me a story on YouTube about a guy who struggled all his life with addiction, drinking, going in and out of prison because, he was involved in one or different crime. And then finally one day, his girlfriend, got pregnant and had a baby, and then while he was in prison, they sent him the picture of his daughter. And the moment he saw the picture of his daughter, he just told himself, I need to be better, if not for myself, but for my baby. Okay, and then that's how he started working hard, started building himself, started trying to make sure that he is not a disappointment to that young girl. And you see, his goal, his vision, the force that he attributed to some of the things he was trying to accomplish was as a result of an addition of a relationship. It can be an inspiration. It can be something that holds you accountable. It can be an opportunity for you to do better, dream better, and build better. Okay, so there is always a role that a relationship plays in your life. Okay, so any successful person you see today, like I said, you can always trace it to one form of relationship that influenced their choice, that influenced their productivity, and forced them to be better. Okay, so no matter how powerful your vision is, it will die without people. No matter how powerful your dream is, it will die without people. It's all over the place. You will see somebody had a dream, another person believed. Somebody, wanted to achieve something. Someone else said, okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to, support what you are doing. I want to be part of what you are doing. It is that connectedness, that shares vision, that shares value, that shares personal productivity that leads, to outward success. Okay? There are about 3 things I would want you to clarify. Whenever you are building a relationship, there are things that you need to clarify. that can help you make that relationship succeed, or whether that relationship will succeed or fail. One of them is the fact that you need to identify your goals and your value. Okay, for a relationship that you are building to work, it needs to align with your vision. It needs to align with your values. So remember when I said that you have to go through a spiritual reset, okay? By the time you go through spiritual reset, what happens is that you identify the values that drive your life. You identify the things you want to live for, the things you want to be identified with. And those things also is going to affect your relationship, okay? So it is important that you align yourself with people who have or share the same set of value that you've identified with in your life. Okay, if you have certain kinds of value that you want to build your life on, and then you build relationship based on people who have different sets of value, then there's going to be a clash. What happens most times is that you will not be effective in what you are doing, because the scripture said, "Can two work together except they agree?" So ultimately, you have to agree in a relationship for it to work. And for it to work, that means that there has to be some set of values and guidelines that align, for both of you in order for it, to be productive. Okay. The next thing is purpose. Is there an alignment with purpose? If you set out on a journey to go to a particular destination, the next question to ask yourself is, the people I'm surrounding myself with, are they set out towards the same destination? Are we building the same thing? I once heard David Oyedepo say that a relationship ends when purpose changes course. Okay? So he said that there's nothing like a permanent friend, that he doesn't have a permanent friend, that you are in his life as long as you guys are chasing a common purpose. Okay, you see how powerful that is. It means that there is no permanent friendship. There is not. In fact, when you look all around your life, when you were growing up, when you were in school, some of the friends you had then are not the ones you have today. Because as the purpose of the relationship changes course, as things begin to happen to us and we begin to identify different things we want to pursue and different areas we want to be in, it starts derailing a relationship. And most times, which has happened to me a lot of times, you lose relationship over time. Most times after 10 years, you are not even talking with somebody. And after 10 years, something reconnects you guys, the same business idea, the same purpose, or the same kind of event that both of you are willing to pursue. Relationship is ignited. Okay? So you see that the core thing that should drive your life after you've identified the value is purpose. Okay? And then of course, the next thing I want to share with you is personal goals. Okay? What goals that you are building aligns with the goal that the person that you want to pursue is also building on. Okay? Let me say this. When I talk about investing in relationships, the natural response that might come into your mind is to start looking, okay, who do I need to meet? Who do I need to invest with? Who do I need to work with? Okay? Why that might come into your mind, what I would encourage you to do is to build yourself. Okay? When you build yourself, what happens is that naturally, when you move in line with purpose, you are going to identify and you are going to attract people who are in line with that purpose when you venture into it. Let's say, for instance, that you want to build a business, okay, an IT business, okay, and then you set out to build your IT business. What happens is that naturally you start putting yourself in circles where you talk with IT people. Okay, you start maybe attending IT conferences. So as you put yourself in line with the purpose that you are trying to build, naturally you will find yourself coming in contact with the kind of relationship required to build that purpose. Why it's important is that in as much as you are trying to invest in someone, the person should also find you attractive. The person should also find you worthy of investment. So what I mean is that when you appear in certain kinds of relationship too early, where you have not built yourself, to the extent that the person that you are trying to build a relationship with will also find you useful, what happens is that relationship begins to struggle. Okay? You see yourself in me, but the question is, do I see myself in you? You find me useful, but do I find you useful? Okay? So I've seen people, maybe you attend a conference, you see a great speaker, You want to exchange number, you want to follow up on WhatsApp. It doesn't connect because there's no common goal, there's no common vision. The person does not see the value of that relationship with you. Okay? And as long as there is no established value or connection, to the extent that both of you will find each other mutually beneficial, what happens is that relationship is not going to last. Okay, so rather than pursuing relationships and looking for who to connect with, build yourself. If you build yourself, the right people will attract. I was listening to NVIDIA CEO. They built the first AI computer, and when they finished building it, they were trying to advertise it in the market, and nobody wants to build, nobody wants to buy. Okay, and then one day he got an email or a notice from an organization, and they said, we are interested in what you are doing, can we meet? And he said, oh, he's excited, finally somebody wants to meet. And of course he googled them online, and it looks like it's a non-profit organization, and he's wondering what can I possibly do with a non-profit organization. But he said, it's fine. He put the product in his car, drove to meet whoever is trying to reach out, and guess what? It was OpenAI. Okay, that is a major organization driving AI innovation across the world today. Of course, they are the ones behind ChatGPT. Okay, so you see, he built it, and the right relationship came. Imagine if he starts moving around, maybe going to OpenAI. Do you need an AI computer? Do you need that? You will even find people giving you rejection too early. So that is why most times it is not good to show up too early. It is not good to show up until you have fully built yourself, fully developed your capacity, so that other people will also find you attractive. Okay, so he built the solution, and then he attracted the right relationship that made the business to work. And that is how I believe it should be. Don't focus on the kind of people you want to bring into your life. Focus on building yourself. When you build yourself, the right people will find you attractive. There will be a common ground. And then when the relationship clicks, you see it's something that will last. But when you pursue relationship at the expense of you building your own purpose, building your own dreams, what happens is that it doesn't last. Over time, you discover that there is no more common ground, and then the relationship dies naturally. Most times people will say, I don't know why I'm not able to connect with this person. Sometimes you might even think that, maybe the person is faking unreachable, or the person is trying to avoid you for some reason. And the simple thing is simply that there's no connection. You guys are not connecting. The dream is not connected. Okay? So try as much as possible to build yourself, build your vision, build your dreams. And then what happens is that the relationship will naturally connect each other. Okay? One core key message I want you to get out of this is that your relationships shape your destiny. Okay? And that is why we want you to heal what's broken, honor what's valuable, and then release what's unhealthy. Okay? So heal what's broken. As we are coming to the end of the year, find what is broken and heal it. Okay, what needs to be fixed? Relationship with a child, relationship with a co-worker, relationship with a mentor, relationship with a parent, or relationship with a spouse. Whatever that is broken, find a way to look for healing. Okay, and then if there are relationships in your life that are valuable, find a way to honor it. And then if there are relationships that are toxic, you have been in a relationship or identifying yourself around the relationship that is not helping your life or making your life to improve, find a way to release and let it go. Set clear boundaries on how on the things that should guide that relationship, so that you can prepare your heart better for next year. Not disconnected, but more connected. Not build walls around you, but building healthy boundaries that makes every relationship to work and not lead to failure. There are 3 kinds of relationship I'm going to mention to you that is very important in your life. And then we can make this a good closure today. The first one is you need relationship with mentor. Okay, this is how I will describe a mentor. This is someone who has gone the journey before you. So if you're trying to build a company, they've built a company. If you're trying to start a marriage, they've been in a marriage for years. If something that you are trying to do, there are people who should have given some significant mileage in achieving what you want to achieve. The reason it's important is that they are able to teach you from their own failures and success. They are able to guide you. They are able to offer advices. They've been to where you want to go to, so there are one or two things so that you can learn from them. That kind of relationship is very important. If you don't have anybody like that in your life, take out time to now begin to evaluate. Maybe they are there and you've not really paid attention. Take out time, evaluate, and ask yourself, how do I solidify this relationship more? How do I become more intentional so that it can be more beneficial to me? That is something you need to do before the end of the year. And be intentional about it as you enter a new year. Okay? The second kind of relationship are the relationship with your peers. People who are your age mates within age group, not necessarily around age, but people you will consider as peers that you guys are building together. You guys are dreaming together. You guys are encouraging to each other together to make sure that you achieve your dream. Okay, it is very, very important. I have one or two friends, who are on the path of success, who are on the path of goal. And once in a while, we hold each other accountable. We share our dreams, we share our plans, and it's a way to encourage each other to become more, to do more, and to achieve more. Okay, it is also very important that you have such solid relationship around you. Okay, and then of course the last one is find people that you pour into. Okay, as people are pouring into you, you also need to pour into others. I started this YouTube conversation not necessarily because it's important. In fact, I had a friend who was on my neck telling me, when we have conversations, you seem to have a lot to share. There's a whole new generation of people who can benefit with what you want to share. And most importantly, growing in our time. We had a lot of people, we had a lot of mentors, we had a lot of, there's this knowledge gap that is currently existing. I mean, there's a lot of information outside there. You can go online and possibly get information on anything you want to get it from. But we don't have many people who are sitting under mentorship. Something many of us enjoyed so many years ago. There seems to be a gap, a mentorship gap in today's generation. There could be somebody you can pour into. No matter where you think you are, there is someone you are better than. No matter where you think you are, there is someone you can help with the little knowledge, with the little experience you have. And that is the whole point. The goal is that the more you pour into others, the more you teach others, the more you mentor and help prepare others, is the more you are also helping yourself. Any knowledge you teach grows. When you hold other people accountable, you are holding yourself accountable. There are many times I've listened to my own teachings on YouTube, and I am asking myself, I'm looking at what I need to also learn, and then from the teaching, I'm also evaluating myself, and then strengthening my core, strengthening what I've been able to do, and then identifying the things I need to work more on. Okay, so the more I teach, the more I learn, the more I feel empowered, the more I also hold myself accountable. And that is why it's important for you to find people that you pour into so that they can help you to build your own life. Okay, so I summarize this today by saying that relationships are key to your success. They are key to who you become in life. They are key for you doing things better, and more successful. So as you enter next year, prioritize building quality relationship in your life. Okay, prioritize identifying with people. Don't be alone. Okay, don't build your dream alone. Don't build your vision alone. Don't build whatever you are trying to do. Team make a dream work. Okay, thank you very much. And I want to encourage you that if you have any question, please use the chat box, to drop in your question. If there are some, specific areas you think that maybe this conversation did not cover, you can also put it in the chat box, and, in our next broadcast, I will take time to maybe first answer the question before I go into the teaching. So next week is going to be the last day of this series. I promised you it's going to be a 5-part, series that is going to help you identify things that you need to end your year strong. And if you are joining us for the first time, I would like you to, locate the previous teachings and then listen, carefully to some of the things we shared. Another aspect of the teachings I will find interesting for you is the leadership series. Okay, we had a leadership series early this year, and we discuss key components of building a vision, starting building a vision and sustaining a vision, and even transferring a vision to the next generation. I will encourage you to find that series and also take this time during the holidays, during the Christmas period, listen to it and let it help you to build your capacity. And part of mentoring others is also sharing what you are learning. So I want to encourage you to share this video. You don't know who you might be helping. Share the channel, tell someone, please listen, please build yourself. And if you have any question, please, go ahead and ask. If you want to join our WhatsApp community, you can also go to the description of our YouTube page. You are going to see a link there to join, and it will you'll be able to join the community. From there you can ask questions and get connected to people. Remember, one of the things I want you to do better as you enter next year is building quality relationships. Okay, so thank you for joining us today. I hope this is a very interesting conversation for you. I hope you have learned something today. So I want to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe if you have not subscribed, share with someone, and make this a memorable experience, not just for you but for others. Okay, thank you for joining us. I'm going to see you next week.